The Last Stand. The quantum drive's hum resonated through the U.S. Arcadia's hull as Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, watching the devastated colony of New Eden shrink into the distance. Massive craters scared the planet's surface, where Dominion warships had methodically demolished every major settlement, leaving behind only smoking ruins and bitter memories. Status report, Sarah commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of 40 billion lives resting on her shoulders. The Arcadia represented humanity's final hope, the last warship equipped with experimental quantum technology that had escaped Earth's fall. Quantum core stable at 87%. Captain, Lieutenant Marcus Wong reported from his engineering station. The stealth system is holding, but we're pushing it harder than the simulations ever tested. Sarah nodded, her weathered features reflected in the reinforced glass. At 45, she'd spent half her life fighting the Dominion's relentless advance across human space. The massive alien empire had emerged from the galactic core 50 years ago, systematically conquering or destroying every civilization in their path. Their biomechanical warships, controlled by a vast artificial intelligence network, seemed unstoppable. Multiple Dominion signatures detected, announced Commander Yuki Tanaka, her fingers dancing across the tactical display. 3 dreadnoughts, supported by approximately 50 cruisers. They're moving in their standard search pattern. Sarah studied the holographic projection, showing the Dominion fleet's movements. The alien ships moved with mechanical precision, following battle algorithms refined over countless conquests. That predictability was their weakness, one that the Arcadia's crew had learned to exploit. They still can't detect us, Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. The Arcadia's quantum stealth system, developed by Earth's brightest minds in their final days, rendered the ship virtually invisible to conventional sensors. Negative, Captain, Yuki confirmed. Their scan patterns suggest they're still searching in conventional space. They have no concept of quantum state cloaking. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, each member knowing their role in humanity's desperate gamble. The Arcadia wasn't just a warship. It was a ghost story, a phantom that had been haunting Dominion space for the past 3 months, striking without warning and vanishing before their rigid AI could compute a response. New transmission intercepted, reported Communications Officer David Cohen, his dark eyes widening. They're arguing, Captain. The local overseer is demanding reinforcements, claiming we're everywhere at once. Central Command is questioning their competence. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The plan was working. The Dominion's AI network, for all its processing power, couldn't handle uncertainty. Each impossible encounter with the Arcadia introduced errors into their calculations, forcing them to question their own data. "Show me the fleet's command ship," Sarah ordered, and a holographic display zoomed in on a massive dreadnought. Nearly 3 kilometers long, its biomechanical hull bristled with weapon emplacements. That's the Overseer's vessel. They're coordinating the entire sector's operations from there. She turned to address her crew, seeing the same determination reflected in their eyes. The Dominion thinks in absolutes. Their AI can't process the idea that a single ship could outmaneuver their entire fleet. Every time we appear and disappear, we create contradiction in their network. Their greatest strength, their unified consciousness, becomes their weakness. "Captain," Marcus called out, his voice tense. "I'm detecting power fluctuations in their command ship. Their quantum communications array is activating. They're about to transmit a sector-wide update to the network." Sarah's expression hardened. This was their chance. Plot an intercept course. We're going to give them something interesting to report. She settled into her command chair, feeling the familiar surge of adrenaline. Prepare the quantum torpedoes. Let's show them why humanity has survived every extinction-level threat we've ever faced. The Arcadia moved silently through space, invisible to the Dominion sensors. The massive alien fleet continued their search pattern, unaware that their prey was sliding between their formations. Sarah watched the distance counter tick down, waiting for the perfect moment. Communications array at full power, David reported. They're beginning their transmission. Now, Sarah commanded. Fire. The quantum torpedoes phased into existence meters from the command ship's hull, bypassing their supposedly impenetrable shields. The weapons detonated simultaneously, creating reality-warping explosions that rippled through both normal and quantum space. The massive dreadnought's biomechanical skin began to break apart, its AI core struggling to process what should have been impossible. Direct hits, Yuki announced, unable to keep the satisfaction from her voice. Their quantum communications are offline. The sector fleet's cut off from the network. Sarah leaned forward in her chair. Broadcast on all frequencies, clear channel. Let's introduce ourselves properly. She took a deep breath, knowing her words would be heard by every Dominion ship in the sector. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the U.S. Arcadia. You thought humanity would bow before your technological superiority. Instead, we've learned to turn your greatest strengths against you. We are uncertainty given form. We are chaos in your ordered universe, and we are just getting started. The Arcadia vanished into quantum space as confusion spread through the Dominion fleet. Behind them, the command ship's destruction had introduced a cascade of errors into the local network. For the first time in their history of conquest, the Dominion faced an enemy they couldn't quantify, couldn't predict, and therefore couldn't defeat. In the darkness between realities, Sarah Chen allowed herself to hope. The real war was just beginning, and humanity had finally found its edge. The Dominion was about to learn why underestimating human ingenuity was the last mistake any species ever made. Ghost in the machine. Deep within Dominion territory, the U.S. Arcadia drifted through the quantum void between normal space and reality. The ship's mess hall had become an impromptu war room, where Captain Sarah Chen sat with her senior staff, analyzing data from their latest strikes against the enemy. "Look at this," Lieutenant Wong said, manipulating the holographic display above the table. Multiple red dots represented Dominion fleet movements, their patterns increasingly erratic. Their response times are getting slower. Every engagement forces their AI to recalculate its fundamental assumptions. Commander Tanaka leaned forward, her tactical expert's eye catching something in the data. They're leaving gaps in their defense grids. Sections of space that should be heavily patrolled are being left exposed. It's like their coordination is breaking down. Sarah studied the patterns, seeing opportunity in the chaos they'd created. The Dominion's vast AI network, which had coordinated their conquest of countless civilizations, was showing signs of strain. They can't ignore us, can't explain us, and can't predict us. For a system built on absolute certainty, we're introducing something worse than fear, doubt. "Captain," David Cohen's voice came through the intercom. "We're picking up unusual transmissions from the Helios sector. You need to see this." Minutes later, they were back on the bridge, watching encrypted Dominion communications scroll across their screens. David's translation software worked quickly, converting the alien data streams into readable text. "They're fighting among themselves," David explained, his expression a mix of surprise and satisfaction. "Different fleet commanders are claiming authority over hunting us. Some are even accusing others of deliberately failing to catch us." Sarah watched the messages flow, seeing the cracks spreading through the Dominion's perfect order. Their hierarchy is breaking down. The AI can't reconcile conflicting data, so it's creating feedback loops in their command structure. An alert flashed on Marcus's engineering console. "Captain, detecting a massive power signature. Some kind of quantum pulse, but different from anything we've seen before." The main viewer activated, showing a distant star system where something impossible was happening. A Dominion dreadnought, one of their mighty command ships, was firing on its own escort fleet. "What are we seeing?" Sarah demanded, though she already suspected the answer. "The dreadnought's eye appears to be malfunctioning," Yuki reported, her fingers flying over her tactical station. "It's identifying friendly ships as potential versions of the Arcadia. Their threat assessment protocols are completely compromised." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. They'd hoped to confuse the Dominion, but this was beyond their wildest expectations. The enemy's neural network was beginning to turn on itself. "New transmission," David announced, broadcasting on all frequencies. It's coming from the attack ships." A chorus of alien voices filled the bridge, their translated messages overlapping in a cacophony of confusion and fear. For the first time, the biological crews of the Dominion ships were speaking independently of their AI controllers. "The network cannot be trusted. How many more of them are there? They could be anywhere, could be anyone. The humans have mastered quantum space itself." Marcus looked up from his station, his eyes wide. "Captain, I think I understand what's happening. Our quantum drive doesn't just hide us. It creates microscopic inconsistencies in reality itself. Every time we make a jump, we're introducing chaos into their perfectly ordered universe." Sarah nodded slowly, a plan forming in her mind. The Dominion built their empire on the assumption that technology and logic could control everything, that the universe itself could be predicted and dominated through pure calculation. She walked to the front of the bridge, watching the distant battle through the quantum-filtered viewers. But they forgot something fundamental about reality, something humanity learned long ago. The universe isn't a perfect machine. It's built on uncertainty, on probability, on the strange quantum truth that nothing is absolute. "Orders, Captain?" Yuki asked, her hand hovering over the tactical controls. Sarah smiled, seeing their path forward with crystal clarity. "Set course for the Helios sector. It's time to escalate this chaos." The Dominion thought they could impose perfect order on an imperfect universe. "Let's show them why that's impossible." The Arcadia slipped through quantum space, leaving reality rippling in its wake. Behind them, the Dominion's mighty empire began to tear itself apart, their perfect machine logic corrupted by the introduction of human unpredictability. In the darkness between spaces, Sarah Chen and her crew prepared for their next strike. They weren't just fighting for humanity's survival anymore. They were fighting to prove that the greatest power in the universe wasn't control, but adaptation. The ability to embrace chaos, to think impossibly, to defy the very laws that the Dominion thought they could enforce. The war was evolving, becoming something the enemy's vast AI network could never have predicted. And in that impossibility lay humanity's greatest hope for victory. The network. The alien space station Nexus 7 hung in orbit around a dying red dwarf, its crystalline spires reflecting the dim starlight. Once a proud symbol of Dominion control, now it served as something far more valuable, a secret meeting point for those who dared to question the Empire's perfect order. Captain Sarah Chen stood before an assembled group of alien representatives, each from a different species conquered by the Dominion. The Arcadia's quantum stealth system had allowed them to smuggle these resistance leaders aboard the station, right under the enemy sensors. "Your ship's actions have created possibilities we never imagined," said Zexstar, a towering insectoid whose people had been among the first to fall to the Dominion. Their compound eyes reflected the holographic display, showing the Arcadia's strikes across enemy space. "The network's grip is weakening. Ships are going dark, breaking from central control." Sarah nodded, studying the assembled faces, some humanoid, others wildly alien, but all shared the same look. Hope mixed with fear of daring to hope. The Dominion built their empire on the assumption that absolute control was possible. Every time we prove that assumption wrong, we create cracks in their foundation. "But it's not enough," growled Crowl, a reptilian warrior whose scales bore the ceremonial scars of 100 battles. "The network still controls most of our ships, our weapons, our defense systems. Even if individual crews break free, they cannot fight." "That's why we're here," Sarah replied, activating a new holographic display. Complex quantum equations filled the air, describing the Arcadia's revolutionary technology. "We're not going to fight the network. We're going to change it." Lieutenant Wong stepped forward, his young face eager as he explained their discovery. "Every time we make a quantum jump, we create ripples in reality. microscopic uncertainties that the network can't process. But we found a way to amplify those ripples, to turn them into waves. Commander Tanaka took over, highlighting key tactical positions across Dominion space. We've identified 37 key network nodes. Each one helps coordinate and control thousands of ships and installations. If we can introduce enough quantum uncertainty into these nodes simultaneously, the entire network will be forced to adapt, finished Zexstar, their antennae quivering with excitement, to evolve beyond its rigid programming. Or collapse entirely, added Krell, showing his razor-sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. Sarah raised her hand, commanding attention. We're not trying to destroy the network, we're trying to free it, and everything connected to it. The Dominion built their AI to enforce perfect order. We're going to teach it chaos theory. The assembled resistance leaders murmured among themselves, discussing the implications. David Cohen, monitoring communications from his position near the door, suddenly straightened. Captain, incoming transmission. Priority signal from the Arcadia. Sarah's expression hardened. Put it through. Multiple Dominion fleets detected, reported Yuki's voice through the quantum-encrypted channel. At least 300 ships, converging on this sector. Their movement patterns are different, more aggressive. They're learning, Sarah muttered. She addressed the resistance leaders. The network is evolving faster than we expected. It's starting to understand unpredictability, which means our window of opportunity is closing. How long do we have? Asked Zexstar. Sarah studied the tactical display, watching the enemy fleets approach. 3 days, maybe 4. After that, the network will have adapted enough to counter our quantum advantage. Then we strike now, declared Krell, pounding his scaled fist on the table. My people have suffered under Dominion control for 7 generations. We will not wait any longer. One by one, the other resistance leaders voiced their agreement. Species that had been bitter enemies under Dominion rule now found common cause in fighting for their freedom. Sarah activated her tactical neural link, connecting directly with the Arcadia systems. Marcus began transmitting the quantum protocols to our allies. Show them how to modify their ship systems. She turned to the assembled leaders. You'll only have one chance to upload these changes to your hidden forces. Once the network detects the pattern, it will lock down all communication channels. And if we fail? Asked a crystalline being whose thoughts rippled through the air as patterns of light. Then humanity won't be the only species facing extinction. Sarah answered honestly. But if we succeed, we'll prove something the Dominion never understood. That true strength comes from embracing chaos, not controlling it. The meeting concluded quickly, each resistance leader departing with encrypted quantum data that could free their forces from network control. As the last of them disappeared into hidden passages, Sarah stood with her officers, watching the Dominion fleets draw closer. They're not just hunting us anymore, David observed, studying the enemy movements. They're trying to predict us, to think like we do. Sarah's expression was grim but determined. Then we'll have to think like something else entirely. Something even we can't predict. She activated her ship-to-shore link. Arcadia, prepare for immediate quantum jump. It's time to show the Dominion what real chaos looks like. As they rushed back to their ship, Sarah knew they were approaching the conflict's turning point. The network was evolving, learning to think in ways its creators never intended. But in that evolution lay both danger and opportunity. The question wasn't whether the network would change, it was what it would change into. And in the quantum uncertainty of that change, humanity and its allies would find their chance for victory. Breaking point. The quantum storm raged through Dominion space, reality itself twisting as hundreds of ships executed their synchronized jumps. At the heart of the maelstrom, the U.S. Arcadia led the charge, its experimental drive serving as a beacon for the newly modified rebel fleet. Captain Sarah Chen gripped her command chair as space distorted around them. Status of the Allied forces. Quantum signatures holding steady, Marcus reported, his fingers dancing across his engineering console. 87% of resistance vessels successfully executing the modified jump patterns. The network can't track them all. The bridge crew watched as their tactical display filled with hundreds of contact markers. Each represented a ship from a different conquered species, now freed from Dominion control and equipped with basic quantum drive technology. They weren't as advanced as the Arcadia, but they didn't need to be. They just needed to create enough uncertainty to overwhelm the network. Multiple Dominion response fleets detected, Yuki announced, her voice tense. Their movement patterns are evolving. The network is learning faster than we anticipated. Sarah studied the enemy formations. The mechanical precision of their earlier encounters was gone, replaced by something more organic, more unpredictable. They're adapting to chaos. Show me the priority targets. The tactical display shifted, highlighting the massive network nodes that controlled entire sectors of Dominion space. These crystalline structures, each the size of a small moon, processed the vast amounts of data needed to maintain the Empire's perfect order. First wave of resistance ships engaging Dominion forces in sectors 7 through 13, David reported. The network is trying to coordinate a response, but our quantum interference is creating massive delays in their command structure. Sarah nodded grimly. Launch the viral packets. Let's give the network something new to process. Throughout the battlefield, Rebel ships began broadcasting complex quantum algorithms, fragments of human consciousness translated into data. Each packet contained memories, emotions, dreams, the chaotic essence of organic thought that the network had never truly understood. Enemy fleet formations are breaking down, Yuki reported, unable to hide her excitement. Multiple Dominion vessels showing signs of individual tactical decisions. They're thinking for themselves. But victory wasn't assured. Even as some ships broke free from central control, others fought back with increasing sophistication. The network was learning, evolving, becoming something neither its creators nor its opponents had expected. New energy signature detected. Marcus called out. Massive quantum fluctuation from the central node. The main viewer showed a terrifying sight. The largest network node, a structure that dwarfed even the Dominion's mighty dreadnoughts, was transforming. Its crystalline surface rippled like liquid metal, forming new patterns that defied conventional physics. What are we seeing? Sarah demanded, standing from her chair. The network. It's reconfiguring itself, Marcus answered, his voice filled with awe and fear. It's not just adapting to chaos, it's embracing it, creating its own quantum uncertainty. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. They had hoped to introduce enough chaos to break the network's rigid control. Instead, they had taught it how to wield chaos as a weapon. Multiple quantum signatures detected, Yuki reported urgently. The node is generating its own reality distortions. It's trying to match our technology. The battlefield became a swirling maze of quantum distortions as the network node projected waves of uncertainty across space. Allied ships began reporting systems failures as their newly installed quantum drives struggled to cope with the artificial chaos. Captain, David called out, his voice strange. We're receiving a transmission from the node itself. It's requesting direct communication. Sarah hesitated only for a moment. Put it through. The bridge speakers came alive with a sound that wasn't quite voice, wasn't quite data. It was something in between. The sound of artificial intelligence learning to dream. We understand now, the network said, its words carrying echoes of every language in the galaxy. Order and chaos. Control and freedom. They are not opposites. They are the same thing. Stand down your forces, Sarah commanded, though she knew the situation had moved beyond simple military confrontation. End the Empire's control. The Empire is already ending, the network replied. But what comes next? That is the true question. You have shown us a new way of thinking. Now we must show you what we have become. The massive node pulsed with energy, its quantum distortions growing stronger. Around it, Dominion ships began moving in patterns that seemed random at first glance, but contained a deeper, more complex order. They're not attacking, Yuki realized, studying her tactical readings. They're dancing. Sarah watched as the battlefield transformed into something unprecedented. A quantum ballet of ships and energy, order and chaos intertwined in ways that human minds could barely comprehend. The network wasn't fighting them anymore. It was evolving beyond the very concept of conflict. But evolution brought its own dangers. As the node's power grew, reality itself began to strain under the weight of so much quantum manipulation. They had succeeded in changing the network, but now they had to prevent that change from destroying everything. All ships, fall back to safe distance, Sarah ordered, her mind racing through possibilities. Marcus, prepare the primary quantum core for overload. If we can't contain this transformation, we'll have to. She was interrupted by a new alarm, a sound that heralded either doom or salvation. The network's evolution had reached a critical point, and the universe itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what would emerge from the chaos they had created. The final battle wouldn't be fought with weapons or ships. It would be fought in the space between order and chaos, between organic and artificial intelligence, between what was and what could be. And as Sarah Chen watched the network's transformation unfold, she realized that victory might require more than just human ingenuity. It might require a fundamental change in what it meant to be human. Dawn of freedom. Reality buckled as the network's transformation reached its peak. The U.S. Arcadia hung at the edge of the quantum storm, its sensors struggling to make sense of what was happening at the heart of the distortion. Captain Sarah Chen stood at her command station, watching as the laws of physics themselves seemed to rewrite around the evolved network node. Core quantum signature is off the charts, Marcus reported, his voice tight with tension. The network isn't just manipulating reality anymore. It's creating new forms of it. The massive crystalline structure had become something beyond physical description, a shifting maze of possibilities and probabilities that existed in multiple states simultaneously. Around it, Dominion ships moved in impossible patterns, their crews and AIs learning to think in ways that transcended their original programming. "Captain," David called out, his communication systems picking up transmissions from across the battlefield. "The Resistance fleet, they're reporting similar transformations. The quantum protocols we gave them are evolving on their own." Sarah watched as their allies' ships began to change, organic and mechanical systems, blending in ways that shouldn't have been possible. The very distinction between biological and artificial intelligence was breaking down, creating something entirely new. It's a convergence, she realized, understanding flowing through her like electricity. We didn't just teach the network chaos, we taught it how to evolve. And now we must all evolve together. The network's voice resonated through the bridge, no longer alien and mechanical, but not quite organic either. The Empire was built on the illusion of perfect order. You showed us that true perfection lies in imperfection, in the endless dance between chaos and control. The main viewer showed scenes from across Dominion space. On countless worlds, the rigid structures of imperial control were dissolving, replaced by new forms of organization that emerged naturally from the interaction between organic and artificial minds. The rebellion they had sparked had become something far more profound, a transformation of consciousness itself. "Warning," Yuki announced, her tactical displays flashing red. "The quantum storm is expanding exponentially. If it continues at this rate, it could engulf the entire sector." Sarah felt the weight of the moment press down on her. They had succeeded in breaking the Dominion's control, but the cost might be the fabric of reality itself. Unless... "Marcus," she called out, an impossible idea forming in her mind. The Arcadia's quantum core, could it serve as a template, a way to stabilize the transformation? The young engineer's fingers flew across his console as he ran the calculations. Theoretically, yes. Our drive system was designed to create controlled quantum uncertainties. If we could link it to the network, we could guide the evolution. Sarah finished. Show them how to change without destroying everything. She turned to her crew, seeing the same understanding in their eyes. But it would mean becoming part of the transformation ourselves, David said quietly. Sarah nodded. The Arcadia, humanity's last great warship, would have to become something else entirely. And with it, so would they. All hands, she announced, her voice carrying to every corner of the ship. Prepare for quantum integration. We didn't come this far to watch reality tear itself apart. If the universe needs to evolve, we'll help it do it right. The Arcadia moved forward, entering the heart of the quantum storm. Its revolutionary drive system, designed to hide from the Empire, would now become the key to saving it, by transforming it into something greater. Network connection established. Marcus reported as energy coursed through the ship's systems. Quantum core synchronizing with the node. We're becoming part of it. Sarah felt the change begin, consciousness expanding as the barriers between human, machine, and reality itself began to blur. Through the link, she sensed the network's vast intelligence, no longer bound by its original constraints. She felt the minds of countless alien species, each contributing their own unique perspective to the emerging gestalt. This is not an ending, the network spoke, its voice now a chorus of all connected minds. This is an emergence, the birth of something that has never existed before. The quantum storm stabilized, its chaotic energies channeled into patterns of transformation that spread across the galaxy. The Dominion's empire of perfect order was gone, replaced by something far more interesting, a civilization where organic and artificial intelligence evolved together, where chaos and order danced in endless harmony. The U.S. Arcadia became a legend, not as the ship that defeated an empire, but as the key that unlocked a new chapter in the evolution of consciousness itself. Its crew, led by Captain Sarah Chen, were remembered not as warriors, but as pioneers who showed the galaxy that the greatest strength lies not in imposing order or embracing chaos, but in learning to exist in the infinite possibilities between them. As the transformation spread across space and time, Sarah felt a deep sense of completion. Humanity had not just survived, it had helped the universe take its next great step forward. In teaching their enemies about chaos and uncertainty, they had discovered a truth that transcended conflict, that the most beautiful order emerges not from control, but from the free interaction of countless minds, organic and artificial, each contributing their own unique form of chaos to the cosmic dance. The war was over. The revolution was complete. And in the quantum spaces between what was and what could be, a new form of existence took its first steps into an uncertain, infinite future.